Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Toledo Museum of Art. I'm Scott Boberg, Manager of Programs, and I want you to give yourselves a round of applause for having the good sense to be here tonight to hear Robert Zollweg speak. So please, round of applause. I'm going to go through just a few housekeeping things about this event and about the evening, so please bear with me. I'll keep it brief, but then I get to introduce someone who will then introduce Kevin, and then he'll introduce somebody. It's going to be spectacular. First of all, I'm going to put my cell phone away, and those of you who have heard me do introductions before, I tend to do this. My phone is out, not because I'm expecting a call, but it's a reminder to myself to turn my phone to silent. So please do. And if you'd like to get some glamour photographs of Robert during the presentation, we just ask that you turn off the flash. All right, so enough about the phone. I want to thank our sponsors. Thursday evening programs at the Toledo Museum of Art are presented and supported by Huntington Private Client Group. Would you mind giving them a round of applause? I also want to thank, because this is part of our master series, I want to thank the Toledo Museum of Art ambassadors. Are there any ambassadors in the house? Raise your hands. Well, give them, while their hands are up, give them a round of applause. This series would not be possible for their support, and they do so much for the museum. We are grateful for all their energy and excitement they bring to everything that happens in the museum. I also want to thank our Toledo Museum of Art members. If you are a Toledo Museum of Art member, raise your hand. Wow, that is amazing. Again, give yourselves a round of applause. You are a two applause-worthy evening. I want to tell you a little bit. This isn't just the only thing happening tonight. I encourage you after this presentation, which will probably go till maybe about 7 o'clock or so, we invite you to come upstairs to Libbey Court because Robert is signing not just one, but I think it's a multitude of these amazing books that he's been involved in producing and putting out. This one is called Farm to Table. There's a bunch of them. And what is remarkable about these books is that Robert has brought them and he's giving them to the museum so we can sell them to support scholarships in the Glass Studio. So thank you, Robert. They are remarkable books, so I encourage you. You can buy them at our front desk or in the store upstairs. Look at the display. But again, this goes to support scholarship, so I'm grateful to Robert for making these books available to you, and they're great, so get some of them. And have him sign them. I can't guarantee what he'll write in it, but he will certainly sign the books to you. And then once you have books in hand, then travel across Monroe Street to the Glass Pavilion because the Glass Party continues with our Punch Bowl Party. We have music by Rayla Percussion. Maybe some of you caught one of their performances last fall, but they were one of our GAP artists in residence, a group of percussionists from the Detroit and Toledo area who wanted to make glass instruments, and that's exactly what they did in our hot shop with Alan and the rest of the crew there. They're remarkable instruments. They did a concert. They actually commissioned works for these glass instruments. If you've never seen a glass marimba, tonight is the night because they'll be playing that. They're spectacular. They look beautiful. Just wait till the sun goes down. You see them lit from below and from behind. It's really a great show. They'll be performing, and then we will have a special, and I'm not going to give it away, but we'll have a special guest talking about the Punch Bowl phenomenon, and Robert will do that introduction. But it'll be a great party that includes some mixed, some drinks, there's a cash bar, and then there are some punch bowl sets that have been donated to the museum, which will be raffled, that will also support the museum. So come on over, have a great cocktail, have a great glass of punch, support the museum by buying some raffle tickets. Maybe you'll go home with an amazing punch bowl set. And I'm going to leave it to Robert to talk about that set over there. But it's my job now to stop talking and to turn it over to Diane Wright, who is our glass and decorative arts curator, who will do the official introduction of Robert. So please give Diane a welcome.
Good evening. Thank you so much for coming tonight. I really believe that there's nobody more passionate about Libbey Glass than Robert Zollweg. He is one of the first people that I met when I arrived here in Toledo just about a year ago, and was immensely helpful as the museum was preparing for our exhibition celebrating Libbey Glass 1818 to 2018, which is currently up in the Glass Pavilion, and which you can see until the end of November. Robert Zollweg is currently the creative director at Libbey Inc., but it was hired in 1978, so he has been with Libbey for quite a long time. As a designer of glassware and flatware and ceramic dinnerware for the retail and consumer and food service industries, Robert gets to travel the world looking for color and design trends which inspire the work that he creates for Libbey. In addition to his full-time endeavors there, Robert has written numerous cookbooks, which you just heard about, and which you have an opportunity to get tonight, on entertaining and home decor. He has a Bachelor of Fine Arts from the University of Toledo and is also a painter in his spare time, which I have a hard time imagining he has any, and works primarily with really bold acrylic colors on canvas. Robert lives here in our museum neighborhood in the Old West End, where he is a wonderful advocate for the preservation of the Libbey House, which is directly behind the Glass Pavilion. If you haven't been there, I urge you to visit, and actually Robert is going to be giving a talk there on November 15th at 6 p.m. Get there early, because these talks are selling out. I want to just thank you, Robert, for coming tonight to share with us your immense knowledge about Libbey and your great enthusiasm for it. So please join me in a warm welcome to Robert Zollweg.
Quite an introduction. Thank you, Diane, and thank you, Scott. And thank you all of you for coming. I have a lot to share with you this evening that I'm pretty passionate about. I'm jumping again here a little bit. So again, hi, I'm Robert Zollweg. I'm the current design and creative director for Libbey. I've been with Libbey for 48 years. Not a short time, but not a long time either. I've still got a few years to go. And I'm passionate about Libbey's history. I'm passionate about the art and the manufacturing of glass and the innovation of glass products. For the next 40 minutes or so, I'm going to share some of the highlights of Libbey's 200 years of the journey of glass, innovation of glass design and the manufacturing that has helped shape the glass industry and will continue to do so, hopefully for another 200 years. But before I start, I'm going to talk a little bit about a brief history of Libbey. And the history of Libbey goes hand in hand with innovation. You can't have one without the other. So we're going to start with the New England Glass Company. The New England Glass Company was founded in 1818 in Cambridge, Massachusetts. The primary product was brilliant cut glass. It was considered the largest cut glass factory in the world at the time. The company experienced some difficult times for the first 50 years. The glassworkers' union was threatening to strike on and off, and when they finally did, Mr. Libby lived up to his threat to them. If they struck again, he would close, and he did. He closed the factory in 1888, and through a tenacious bit of his ability to find a location, he chose Toledo, Ohio. In the spring of 1888, he moved the entire factory and most of his workers to Toledo. Numerous boxcars transported the equipment and the families to Toledo, and with great fanfare upon their arrival, a picnic and a marching band greeted the train that brought all the workers to Toledo. Libbey instantly fell in love with the city, which was a good thing. In Toledo, the company continued to produce some of the finest cut glass product found anywhere in the world, and they did this for the next several years. But Mr. Libby knew that things had to change if the company was going to experience real success. So after he moved to Toledo in 1888, he went looking for some additional skilled glass workers in West Virginia, where he stumbled across a brilliant man by the name of Michael Owens and hired him instantly. Michael Owens ran the operations at the Toledo plant and helped Mr. Libby begin to turn things around over the next few years. During this time, Libby and Owens were exploring many new ways for innovation in the market, the Libby brand, with the existing glass product. In 1893, Mr. Libby took a big chance and invested $200,000, which was a tremendous amount of money in that year, to build the Libbey Glass factory at the Columbian Exposition in Chicago. This venture started out slowly, but after a few weeks, an employee had a brilliant suggestion to start charging a dime to get into the exhibit, arguing that anything interesting or of value should not be given freely. This concept took off, and the Libby Pavilion became a huge success, catapulting the Libby brand nationwide. And I had to leave out of my presentation that that employee happened to be a woman. Although the brand was getting national recognition, Libby knew that the cut glass product would not be in fashion forever. Sales started to slow down in the early 1900s. Mr. Libby recognized the potential of Mr. Owens, and despite being a self-taught glassblower from West Virginia, he had a fantastic mind of innovation and mechanical engineering. So he encouraged Owens, Mr. Libby encouraged Owens to spend his time and energy developing a new, innovative glass technologies. Owens' time and efforts for innovation materialized with a new, highly automated machine, the Owens bottle machine, one of the most comprehensive, magnificent machines of the era. This is truly, if you've ever seen a piece of equipment, it completely blows my mind to this day. I'm at the factory all the time. We have a machine that it's more modernized than it is back then, but to the average person like yourselves, it would look exactly the same. And it's an incredible piece of 1 million moving parts, fire, water, gas, booting all over the place. It's quite an amazing thing. This machine would eventually change the course of the company and the glass industry forever. To start, it was the first machine to automate the production of glass bottles, which were growing in demand. It also single-handedly eliminated child labor in the glass industry. Libby and Owens had the perfect chemistry, the desire and the imagination to see what innovation can do for this industry. With this brilliant new machine, the team formed the Toledo Glass Company. This company was set up to own the patent rights to the Owens bottle machine. Then they formed the Owens Bottle Company. Whoops, the wrong one here. Which merged with the Illinois Glass Company to become Owens, Illinois. Today, Owens, Illinois is the largest producer of glass bottles in the world and is located in Perrysburg, Ohio. From there, they formed Libby Owens Flat Glass Company in Rossford after purchasing the patents to float glass. The company later merged with the Ford Glass Company in Rossford to become Libby Owens Ford, or LOF, as many of us know it, which later was acquired by Pilkington NFG North America, which is how it's known today. That's a photo of the factory in Rossford. Still very impressive. Another branch in the Libby family tree came about when Owens, Illinois was experimenting with spun glass. This led to the joint venture with Corning Glass Works in Corning, New York, to form Owens Corning Fiberglass. All of these at one time were all companies located in Toledo, Ohio. Owens, Illinois, the large and successful bottle company in the 1930s, purchased the original Libbey Glass Company back again in 1938. It made it a tableware division. Libby operated as a tableware division for OI for 55 years. In 1993, under the leadership of John Meyer, a dear friend of mine, who's since passed, and Dick Reynolds, and many others, I'm sure, Libbey Glass became its own company again through an IPO on the New York Stock Exchange. With this move, Libby was able to set its own course and future as an independent glass company, still based in Toledo, Ohio. This was a bold move and had proven to be the right one. Libby has always been an innovative company with the entrepreneurship and was just one more example of how to continue and push beyond our comfort zone. During all of this, over the years, Libby has also pushed beyond its comfort zone with glass designs. Going back to 1933, the Libby management team hired Douglas Nash to design a new collection of high-fashion glassware, commonly called Libby Nash Series. This collection is designed to bring Libby back into the high-end decorative glass business, Although somewhat short-lived due to the hard economic times out of the Depression, it is still one of the most sought-after collections ever produced by Libbey. Then again, another one of Libbey's bold moves came in 1940, when they attempted to get back into the high-end fashion glass business. They hired Edward First to design a line of contemporary collection known as Modern America. This collection is very clean, very simple designs, and just incredibly beautiful collection. Due to the war efforts, though, and the fact that the original experienced glass cutters were retiring, the furnace needed to be rebuilt, the decision was made to close down production, thus ending Libbey's last efforts to remain in the high-end glass as a glass producer. Modern America is a highly collectible today due to its limited edition. After this, Libbey focused on what they did best, producing high-speed automated tumblers, and in doing so, they continue to shape the glass industry. And then again in 1942, during the height of World War II, Libbey hired Frieda Diamond, a graduate of Cooper Hewitt College in New York, as a design consultant. Frieda was just a remarkable woman. She brought affordable fashion to Libbey and the marketplace. A real pioneer in market research, she traveled all over the U.S., visiting numerous department and specialty stores to learn what the consumers were buying and what they were looking for in the tabletop product. In 1954, she was named by Life magazine the designer for everybody. I was fortunate to have had the opportunity to work with Frieda over the years for 15 years before she retired in 1989. That's 46 incredible years she gave Libbey, leading product design. She was absolutely a remarkable woman. I could tell you 100 stories about Frieda. Loved her dearly. She was just a true friend and a great colleague. She had a fabulous apartment in New York City. Her trips to China in the 1930s, where she was one of the first women outside of Asia to explore the Chinese culture. I recall that on her living room hung a beautiful red lacquered room divider she had purchased in China. She always wore dresses and a coordinating hat and a large gold bracelet on her arm. She embodied fashion and design like I've never seen. She was such an inspiration to me and to all of Libbey at the time. Just a remarkable woman. Then there was what I call it, the Curly Achenbach years. These were interesting. As general manager of Libbey, he was tough and tenacious, but determined to turn Libbey around financially, and he did. There was talk back then, or rumors, that OI wanted to spin Libbey off as a company. But Curly asked OI to give him a chance to turn things around. And Curly, along with Frieda, Jerry Oberndorfer, and many of his design and marketing folks, helped drive innovation and new product development by creating a new line of product called Glass Creations, a collection of large blown bubble balls, mushrooms, ginger jars, large glass pigs, automobiles, milk bottles, you name it, they developed it, and it was quite phenomenal. It was the first in a very new and innovative machine in Libbey, commonly called the LLW, which stands for the Libbey Largeware Machine. Back in the 1970s, Kmart was the big and up-and-coming box discounter. It's kind of sad to say, but they were big back then. And they played an important part in helping Libbey turn themselves around, and once again, Libbey to dominate the retail marketplace. Curly also pushed manufacturing for new stemware techniques and to develop new pressed glass line for the food service division, which I'll talk a little bit more later. Once Libbey had automatic tumbler machines perfected, they developed a process for decorating these tumblers on the first automated decorating machines in the year 1936, 1937. These are some of the very early decorated things. Some of you may have recognized them, some of you may not. These were all produced, as you can see, in the circus one in 1952. Due to this new capacity, Walt Disney visited Toledo in 1937 to develop the decorated glassware to promote his new movie, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. I can't imagine Walt Disney coming to Toledo, but he did. Back then, it was, as I said, to promote his new film, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. During the glassware started a whole new phenomenon of promotional glass. In the early 1940s, Libby started decorating glassware for the Kentucky Derby. This lasted from 1941 until 2015. I was fortunate enough to have worked with a Churchill Downs group and a company called Harry M. Stevens, their marketing division, to design several of these commemorative glasses. Again, these are very extremely collectible. If you know anybody that has Derby glasses, there are very few people around that has the entire collection. Libby themselves does not have an entire group of these glasses, but they're very promotional and worth quite a bit of money. Libby also promoted numerous fast food chains and gas station promotion glass. Here's a few examples of them. Some of you remember these. The Goonie glasses in the middle is a collection that I designed, and this is kind of special to me because I was in Los Angeles when we designed this, and I happened to meet a film director called Steven Spielberg, and worked with him and his team on developing the designs for these glasses, along with the Goonies. You've got the Flintstones, Miss Piggy, Ronald McDonald. We did every movie you could think of for years and years. But Frieda played another important role at Libby in developing a new line of decorated glassware. These were called Hostess Sets. In the 1940s and until the early 1980s, these were the most important new products that Libby had to offer. And the post-war boom, new families, and the need of affordable housing after the war, Frieda identified the demand for these hostess gifts. Numerous famous patterns emerged during Frieda's years: golden foliage, carnival, gold coins, Nordic, and wheat, to name a few. I can't tell you the number of times when someone would say, "Oh my gosh, my grandmother has those exact glasses in her cabinet." I get numerous emails to this day, people calling me and saying, they have these, what are they worth, you know? And we produce millions of these glasses. They're not worth a fortune, but they are worth something. You're better off just keeping them and cherishing the fact that they're a vintage glass. We produce millions of gold and silver foliage in just about every shape you could decorate back then. Gold and foliage became the most popular decorated tumbler collection in Libby's history, and remains so today. Decorated tumblers started to lose momentum in the late 60s, but solid colored glassware started to replace it with misty blue, Spanish green, all these different colors here. True to Curly Achenbach's determination, the ever-popular Gibraltar Tumbler collection was born in 1978. Oops, I'm back one. Here we go, this one. Frieda and Jerry Oberndorfer both claim to have designed this product. I believe it was Frieda, but I won't distribute Jerry's comments either. Frieda claimed that the inspiration came from something she saw during one of her trips to Europe. For many years, Gibraltar was Libby's #1 pattern in both retail and food service, and is still being produced today at our glass factory in Shreveport, Louisiana. Gibraltar had grown from 4 to 5 shapes in crystal to multiple colors in the late 90s to cover over 27 different sizes and shapes. The only glass shape to outperform it in recent years is the impression shape that is being produced in our factory in Monterrey, Mexico. Another first in innovation for Libby was the development of one-piece pulled stemware in 1970. Prior to this, stemware was two-piece. Libby always has made the two-piece process, as you see here. The glass on your far right is a two-piece glass. The glass on the center one there is one piece, and that is made, you blow one piece of glass, and then you stretch the piece of glass different heights to make a one piece. The two pieces made a bowl and a stem, and they're put together. So two-piece will always have a junction at the bottom of the bowl. Two-piece stemware has always had a joint. Today, Libby sells millions of both of these different types, shapes of product, and most of production is still made in Toledo. I can't stress enough the importance of engineering and manufacturing when it comes to innovation. Many people think, oh, it always developed for designers. Designers can't work without the engineers and the manufacturing folks. Libby has developed many firsts over the years, with Michael Owens, his original tumbler blowing machine in the 1900s, to the decorating machines in 1930, large weigher machine in 1970 and 75, and our newest production process, which we call Black Label Technology, or the BLT machine, in 2013 in Shreveport, Louisiana. I will talk more about the BLT collection in a minute. But our engineering team continues to develop new techniques to improve production and give design and marketing new tools to create new product. And then when you get into my travel years, art and travel went hand in hand in product development. Just as Edward Drummond Libby and Florence Scott Libby traveled to Europe and Africa purchasing artwork and artifacts for their personal collection as well as pieces for the new Toledo Museum of Art, these travels influenced many of their decisions. Frieda also traveled the world for inspiration. International travel still plays an important part in product development. Designers need to be inspired, whether it's a museum, a department store, dinner at a restaurant, or even a vacation. All of this helps stimulate the creative process in one way or the other. From my experience at Libby, traveling to Europe and Asia a few times a year and visiting museum and glass manufacturing factories, retail shops and stores, virtually seeing the world helps change your design perspective. I can't encourage anyone enough that a designer needs to be inspired, and to be inspired, you have to see things, and not the daily things you see every day. You have to be inspired by new things. Culture and travel together inspire product development. Any great designer will tell you they never look at currently designed product, but the world around them, the culture, the fashion, luxury, society, lifestyles, the way people live. For many years, American designers followed what they were doing in Europe, but that's changing. And that's changing because of this giant right here. Today, the internet and real-time communication, everything has changed. Designers are looking at lifestyles and habits of the consumer for designing the right product for today's marketplace. They use the internet for research and inspiration. Amazon, Wayfair, Zulily are a few of the e-com companies that are giving brick-and-mortar today retailers a run for their money. Marketing and manufacture has to evolve with the times. Another way for inspiration comes with traveling. Libby stays relevant in the market through participation in trade shows. Many of you know what trade shows are. They're just big convention centers where companies exhibit their products. Libby has been exhibiting at trade shows for as long as I can remember. Libby has participated in the Frankfurt, Germany Ambiente trade show for almost 50 years. It's hard to explain the magnitude of this trade show in Germany. There are 11 2- and 10-story buildings. It's almost like a small city, covering hundreds of acres. It's the largest trade show in the world devoted to tabletop products. I've personally attended Ambiente in Germany since 1979. Other important table shows at the time are the Milan show in Italy, MACHF, the Maison Object show in Paris, and the Canton Fair in Guangzhou, China. In the US, there are numerous trade shows in the United States. The National Restaurant Show and the International Houseware Show, both located in Chicago, and the New York Tabletop Show, located in New York. Both the internet and the computers have had to attend to all these shows to see what the innovation is going on in the world and how it influences Libby in the product development. It seems that e-com might be changing all of this. Today, nearly 1 in 10 purchases are made online. It's kind of sad for us, but that's the future. Having the opportunity to learn from a tabletop designer and my mentor like Frieda Diamond was incredibly inspiring to me throughout my career. She taught me to pay attention to high-end retailers, to see what they were selling, consider how this product could be developed into casual and affordable products for the Libby market. Her comment to me once was, if it's good enough for Bergdorf Goodman, it's good enough for the everyday folks at Kmart. And I go, okay, I believed her. And it's still somewhat true. Libby has worked with all the major retailers, from Macy's to Crate & Barrel to Williams-Sonoma to Target, Kohl's, and Pier 1. Learning and observing from these major retailers has been important to Libby for over the years. I've been fortunate to have been visited and worked with many of them. And when I do, I notice what their designers are doing. and I keep my eyes open, and I rarely blink during my visits. Going beyond design, we have innovated the way we promote products over the years. One of these big promotions was Fun with Bottles. This bottle collection was produced at our former factory in Wallaceburg, Canada. The collection consisted of a number of vinegar and oil bottles, wine bottles, and a series of jars and canisters. The introduction of this collection at the Chicago houseware stores was just incredible. It gained a lot of attention, and Marshall Field's in Chicago was the first department store to step up and buy the collection. As part of the contract, Libby provided on-site demonstrations, yours truly, had to promote this new bottle stuff, and the collection at several major department stores and located around the country for Marshall Field's. It was another first for our company in promoting new products. Whoops, I'm going the wrong way. And then there's this. Another great marketing promotion, and this is Strickling marketing promotion, which corresponded with Libby's 100th anniversary of being in Toledo, was the Anheuser-Busch Spuds MacKenzie phenomena. Libby put this crazy dog on every piece of glass you could decorate. We had spuds on a surfboard, on a beach chair, and even on Christmas spuds. Libby ran the promotion for over 2 years with great success. Macy's in Herald Square store in New York was the first to put had a Spuds MacKenzie shop in the cellar department. John Mayer served as our unofficial master of ceremonies at the Promenade Park celebration, which included the arrival of the Spudettes. These are 3 attractive women dressed, and the original Spuds dog, which was an actual dog. It was it's an extremely fun promotion, and it put Libby in the news and elevated this position to many new retailers. And then this particular collection. One of the collections that I'm most personally proud of when it comes to innovation for Libby is the Just Desserts and Just Tasting collections we did in 2007. I was inspired by a trip to Maison Objet trade show in Paris, where I saw small tasting plates and tapas plates featured everywhere. I came back to Toledo, and in our Toledo showroom, pulled various products together to see if I could emulate what I saw in Paris. It just so happened that Pier 1 Imports was visiting our showroom the next day and saw the product with their buying team. They saw what I had pulled together and responded that they had just seen the same thing in Europe a couple of weeks before. Why, they attended the same show that I had. That started the collaboration between Pier 1 and Libby that turned into an extremely successful and profitable program for both of us called Just Tasting. Later, Bed Bath & Beyond came on board, and the program grew even bigger. We created additional volumes of Just Desserts and Just Tasting and added mini cocktails and Just Baking. Libby rode the wave for almost 5 years. To this day, retailers ask me, what is the next Just Desserts? Everybody on our design team and marketing teams are still looking for new ways to promote the entertaining product business. Just Desserts and Just Tasting also led to development of the Libby Cookbook and Entertainment Collection. I'm sure Libby never dreamed they would be in the cookbook and promoting business, but they did, and it's another first in the industry. I started writing the first book on Just Desserts and convinced our retail marketing managers to take a gamble, and they did, and the rest is history. Just Desserts and Just Tasting expanded into craft brews, perfect whiskey, farm to table, country folk, Just Baking, chemistry bars, a total of 17 different cookbooks and entertaining books. Some were more successful than others, but it demonstrated innovation all the same. Most of these will be on display and available for purchase in the lecture after the lecture. Libby has been fortunate over the years to have a robust design and marketing team. Where we went global in the early 2000s, we started to integrate our design teams with our Crisa facility in Monterrey, Mexico, and our design team in Europe, Royal Leerdam in the Netherlands, and Cristal in Portugal. Although we operate separately, we are working together more and more, building a more unified design team that can compete with the ever-changing world of consumer products. One of Libby's largest investments to date in manufacturing and innovation in recent years came out of a global strategy meeting we had in 2011. Pulling together 5 of our top designers worldwide, we collaborated on product ideas to carry Libby into the next era. This team determined that our #1 priority should be high-end machine-made stemware. This was the start of Libby's BLT project, which is termed for Black Label Technology, in 2013, led by Terry Hartman, our Vice President of Engineering, and his team of engineers, along with some Libbey marketing and design folks. As a result of this team, some of the most beautiful stemware we've ever produced, a huge leap forward for the quality of glassware that we are producing in the U.S. I'm sure both Mr. Libby and Mr. Owens will be extremely proud of the fact that Libby took the bold step for this innovative new glass. I'm extremely proud of it, and it's just a phenomenal product line. This year, to celebrate Libby's 200th anniversary, the idea to collaborate with the Libbey Museum of Art, with whom we have a long-standing partnership and share history, came about. Thanks to the support and encouragement from Adam Levine, Libby and the museum, we developed a handmade commemorative collection of glass, designed by yours truly here, and hand-blown in the museum studio manager Alan Iwanua. Produced from a series of rough sketches, and these were rough sketches, I'm going to tell you what I gave Alan. Alan and his team produced this magnificent collection inspired by the 1940 Modern American series, one of my favorite of all Libby's collections. I felt the new collection would be a perfect tribute to our heritage, and at the same time, give it a classic contemporary feel for today. Adding the cobalt color to the base of each piece gave it a signature look for 2018. Cobalt has always been a truly regal color and a perfect color to celebrate our 200th anniversary. This limited edition collection is available for purchase tonight, and to celebrate this evening's event, the museum is offering a 10% discount for the purchase. I think I could talk about Libby's history and innovation and its accomplishments for years, and I could talk forever. But I have a special guest. And my special friend and colleague is here, and he's waiting patiently to share some of his thoughts with you. It's been my pleasure to be with you tonight, and for sharing my passion for the history of Libby and the products that I have designed and made profitable. And now I'd like to introduce Kevin Vollebregt, Libby's European brass brand ambassador, and a true inspiration to all who know him. Kevin travels the world working with bartenders, mixologists, and food establishments all over Europe and Asia, promoting the use of Libbey Glass and the perfect shape for the perfect cocktail. And with that, Kevin.
Well, thank you, Robert, for this nice introduction. And I would like to also give Robert a big round of applause for his amazing presentation. Yeah, so a brand ambassador for Libby. I must say this is a new crowd for me. I do a lot of presentations. I go to a lot of bar shows in the world. So I give presentations to bartenders, so pretty much people in the average age of 30, 35. So you're a little bit older, but more experienced, So I've been working for Libby for 3 years now, 3.5 years, and Libby settled down in Europe approximately around 2000, 2003. They took over a factory called Libbey Diamond, which I work for. I work in a small city called Leerdam, and we have our own two-stem production. So as Robert already mentioned, we do produce two-piece stemware. So we are really good at producing wine glasses, really thin and really good. But for Libby brand, to become a real good brand in Europe, we needed more, and eventually we tried to do the way Libby has been doing it here in the States for a long, long time, and it didn't really work for us. So we made choices. We went back to putting our own solution to the point and to the market, and we thought, okay, where does the brand Libby, where does it get connected the most in the market? And funny thing is, it was the bartending scene, the cocktail scene. And I don't think everybody ever imagined why that was. What was the reason why the bartenders in Europe really loved their glasses? Well, 3.5 years ago, I started working for Libbey as a brand ambassador because we sell our glasses through distributors like we do here in the States as well. But we never had any contact with our end users, so the bartenders. So what are they looking for? And America is creating these amazing designs and amazing glasses, but what do the end users want? What are actually the bartenders looking for? And that was actually one of the whole reasons they asked me to become a brand ambassador, to get into this market, to find the reasons people are actually using Libbey glassware, and which new ideas would they like. Because we've talked a lot about new designs, about designers, about, well, Robert has been designing for 40 years for Libbey. But what is the next step? Is it getting a new designer? Is it our own design team? And we looked further than that, and I would like to tell you a little bit about that in my presentation. So just quickly about my experience. I am a marketing communication background. I have 10 years experience in food service. I worked for a spices and herbs company, also marketing. So I was targeting chefs, and now I'm targeting the liquid chefs, as I call bartenders. I try to spot trends. So I have people in my factory and my company say I have the best job in the world because I visit cocktail bars and drink cocktails for a living. Not to actually taste the cocktails, of course you do, but I try to find trends to see, okay, what are cocktail bartenders, and I'm talking about high-class bars. So it's not your normal cocktail bar around the corner, but it's really the upper class, so the better bars in the world. There's a list that's called the 50 best bars in the world. I try to go and visit those bars. What are these guys doing? Because I visit these bars, I try to spot trends, and I also try to see, okay, which kind of products are they using? What is the rest of the market going to use in the future? I do lots of social media. If you're on Facebook, you can find me on Facebook. And we have a thing which we created 3 years ago. It's called Glassology. It's an amazing competition for bartenders. I'll tell you all about that in a minute. So in Europe, we say cheers to the ones that inspire us, because these guys are inspiring us with the crazy drinks they're creating and also the glassware that they're using. And I must say that these better bars in the whole world, they are not using Libbey, because they want to be different and they're using real high-class, high-quality crystal glasses, costing $60, $50 each, because they have these budgets. And it's actually the rest of the market that is looking towards them, like what kind of glasses are they using? But they cannot afford for their bar a glass of $50, $60. So I try to find the trends. What do they need? Let's create those glasses with Libbey. And why, you would maybe ask, why bartenders? I don't know if there are any bartenders in the room or have ever been behind the bar. But the bartenders working for these high-class bars are really well-educated people. They are sometimes even university schooled. They choose this for a living, not because they have not got an education, but they want to do this because they are so inspired and so they love the job so much. They're always looking for the latest trends, new ways to create drinks. And they are really inspiring and really, really creative people. I've been working for Libbey for 3 years now, looking into the history of cocktails. Is there a link? And I feel that there is a link. If you look at the history of cocktails, it dates back to 1600s when the punch was created. It's one of the first cocktails ever created in the world. And hopefully you'll actually be drinking one of the nice punches we created on the other side of the road here in the Glass Museum. And it was actually an American guy called Jerry Thomas, one of the first bartenders to really enhance the market of cocktails. He was the first to actually create the first cocktail cookbook in the world. And he's known as the professor. In the whole world, every bartender, good bartender I say, knows Jerry Thomas. And Jerry Thomas set the standard. He created the newest drinks. And if I would look at a map of actually I'm going to go back. The cocktails that were actually created in the United States of America. I'm doing something wrong again. Let me see. Here we are. Oh, it's not working. Never mind. I'll get this slide in another way. Here we are. This is a map of North and South America, and with all different kinds of cocktails that were actually created, classical cocktails that are known all over the world that were created in the United States. Maybe you don't even know this. It's the Manhattan was created in New York. It's the Dark and Stormy, Long Island iced tea. If you look at New Orleans, and I don't know if anybody has ever known of the Tales of the Cocktail event in New Orleans, it's one of the biggest cocktail events in the world. Every bartender, influential bartender, goes to Tales of the Cocktail. One of the big reasons is it's an event that started off as a cocktail tour around going by the bars that actually created the classic cocktails. So the Grasshopper, the Hurricane, the Sazerac, Ramos Gin Fizz, all classical cocktails created in the United States. Having this said, United States was also one of the first countries to actually have bar programs, so schools that educate bartenders. And a lot of European bartenders would eventually come over to the States, have this bar training, get this amazing knowledge about classical cocktails, go back to Europe, and they wanted to find those glasses that they were using at the educations, so at the schools. They couldn't find it, because Libby wasn't being sold in Europe. And that's the first, I believe that's the first, one of the first moments that people started importing Libby glasses into Europe. It was these bartenders. And that's why we have such a great link in Europe with bartending, the bartending scene. Another question you should ask yourself is when you say, why do we target bartenders in Europe? Because it's just a small part of the food service segment. And I always explain to people, try and ask yourself, where do trends start in the food service market? If you look at food, and you look at I've created like a pyramid here with the top part of the food chain is the Michelin star restaurants. Just looking at the fact, where do trends start? They start at those Michelin star chefs that are creating new and innovative ways of creating a dish, new ingredients that they're finding somewhere on the other side of the world. And they are setting the trend for the rest of the market. The same happens actually for the drinks industry. It's those top cocktail bartenders, those top bars in the world, the 50 bars I just mentioned, those people are setting the trend for what's going to happen in the coming years. And they will start with it, and they will also actually use certain glassware. So if we follow them and actually see what they are using, we will know what will be happening in the coming years. Actually, one of the glasses Robert has created is called the Hopster Glass. It's a cut glass, and you can see the pattern actually in the slideshow here. Pattern here. He created this, and it was actually like a big homage to one of the cut glass from the early, the first century Libby was working in. And this is actually this blew up in Europe. It's the best-selling glass in the whole Europe. Everybody knows the Hopster glass. And I didn't actually know till the visit. This is my first time in Toledo, and I didn't know that Robert actually designed it. So I was amazed, and I don't think he knows it's big, and we sell it a lot, but it is massive. And it's actually it started off at these top bars. At these top bars that actually believed in that cut glass, going back to the speakeasy time, to the Prohibition time, when these glasses were well known. And eventually, the whole chain is using Hopster glasses at this moment. It's amazing. Well, is glassware that important? You all have glasses in your cupboard at home, and you probably have your favorite glass. Who in this room has their favorite glass? Everybody, and you drink your whiskey out of it, and it's your favorite glass. And if it breaks, you're hoping the store still has it. But everybody has their favorite glass. Glass is it's an important role. And to showcase this, I went to Tales of the Cocktail event for the first time 2 years ago. And we did an interview together with the person on the right. His name is Robert Zollweg. He's an American bartender from Amsterdam. And we interviewed this amazing guy on the left called Jared Brown. Well, Jared Brown, he's a well-known person in the cocktail industry. And he has written books, many books over cocktails. He has looked into history. He created his own gin. Well, he knows his stuff. And we asked him the question, Jared Brown, what do you think is the most important thing about a piece of glassware? And he's a little bit weird guy, but you'll see. But he gave this amazing answer. And I use this video all the time because I really love his answer he gives, and I really feel that Libby also understands the way he feels and the way he thinks. And I'll show you the video. Hopefully the sound doesn't work. Let me see.
So I'm here with the legendary Jared Brown, and I want to know from Jared Brown, what do you think is the most important thing about a piece of glassware?
What's the most important thing about a piece of glassware? This is a great question because, of course, that piece of glassware has to fit both sides of the bar. From the bar side, a piece of glassware has to be durable. It has to be reasonable priced. It has to factor in because it's a business. But on the other side, it has to deliver the fantasy, deliver the experience. Because nobody goes to a bar for a drink. You go to a bar in the hope that you will leave feeling better than when you came in. And the glass is so much a part of delivering a perfect classic or new and innovative drink.
Well, he's right. He's right. He's really right. And you're hearing things that Libby stands for. He's selling durable. It has to be reasonably priced. It has to factor in. And on the other side, it has to deliver the fantasy for the customer that's coming. And you all know the fact that when you go to a place and you see some amazing drink somebody else is drinking, how many times have you said, oh, I would like to drink one of those? You actually have no idea what you're ordering, but it looks amazing. And the glass is such a great part of that whole experience. Cocktail versus glasses. There are in the last few years glasses have been produced for special cocktails. You have the martini glass for the martini. The martini glass was actually created for champagne, but eventually it also became the martini, the cocktail. But there is such a link between the types of drinks that are served in the types of glasses. So you have, of course, wine is served in a wine glass. We all know that. Whiskey is served in a tumbler. Is it the best glass for a whiskey? I don't think so. And tiki drinks, everybody, maybe, I don't know if you all know tiki drinks, but there are certain tiki glasses and tumblers that are used for tiki drinks. And glasses tell so much more than just, they tell so much more about the drink. Before you have even taken a sip, you're looking at the glass. How does it look? Is there a condense on the outside? Does it look cold? Does the glass look heavy? There are certain things that happen in your mind that create expectations of the drink that you're going to drink. Like I just said, how many times do you order drink just by having it look good? That expectations that you've set in your mind that give you so much extra to the actual taste of the drink. And over the years, I've been working for Libby, going by bars. I've been recognizing actual trends by looking at the glasses. So I can see, okay, what type of glasses are they using? I can actually see, okay, this kind of ingredients they are using because they're using these kind of glasses. Sophisticated glasses carry lots of times sophisticated drinks. Simple and clean glasses, they lots of times have simple and clean drinks in them. And looking at that, and eventually we thought, okay, we have been designing many glasses over the coming years, and over the past few years we have done good things, we've done bad things. We have created glasses that worked really well, that sold really well, and we've created glasses that didn't really sell good at all. And eventually, this is something probably you don't know, but in the cocktail industry, there are lots of competitions. Bartenders like to compete with each other. Who's the best? Who can create the best drink? One of the biggest competitions there is in the world is called Diageo World Class. It's pretty much Olympics for bartenders. Who wins that is the best bartender in the world. And there are so many cocktail competitions going around. So what we thought in Europe is, okay, we're targeting this group that like to compete. What can we do as well to connect with them, to get more knowledge from them? Because they are creative. They are creating new drinks every day. And they are looking for the best glasses that suit their drinks. So we came up with the concept of the Glassology Design Contest. Instead of them creating a new and innovative drink, let's also ask them to create a new and innovative glass that suits their drink. And so we did.
My name is Robert Zollweg, bartender from Amsterdam and the proud winner of the first Libbey competition. I've done many competitions. It's always about the content of the glass and never about the glass. It's the way you serve the drink, which is a very, very important thing in the whole drinking experience. When you work in a bar, you have a selection of glassware to choose from. Now all of a sudden, you can create your own glass, your shape, your outcome, your idea. So the first step is to come up with a sketch, come up with an idea, work it out, send it in. I was very happy when I was selected to go to the semi-finals, where you do a factory visit and you get master classes by designers of Libby. And then the world of glassology opens even further. The factory visit is another really cool thing about this competition. Factories raw materials, machinery, it's fire, high temperatures, flames. You don't want to fire it? At some point you will have your 3D print of your design. So your design comes to life. It's an amazing moment. So create your story. Draw your sketch. Make it to the semi-finals, perfectionize your design, and you can become the next Glassologist.
So you can't sign up anymore. This was the second. This was the promotion we did for the second competition. The person you saw in the video his name is called Robert Zollweg. You also saw him do the interview with Jared Brown. He was the winner of our first competition we did, where he created the Tulip Punch Bowl. And I hope you will all be going to the punch party in a minute, but there you will also see the punch bowl he created. He created a punch bowl in the shape of a tulip. He's from Amsterdam. And there's a whole story behind that design, which I will be telling later on at the punch party later on. So the whole idea behind the contest of the Glassology Design Contest is to collaborate with these bartenders all around the world. So any bartender in the whole world could participate in this competition. We would choose the best 24 designs, get those people over to our factory. So we would fly them in from Australia, Brazil, or everywhere. Anybody who had a really good concept and good design. And eventually, what they would win is we would produce the glass. So this is the first design that was actually the first winner with Robert Zollweg with the punch bowl you can see here. This year we had the second edition and we had the Belgian bartender win from Antwerp. He created a glass called the Gatsby, which is a little bit Art Deco style glass. And this is actually not a glass you're seeing here because we haven't produced it yet. This is an acrylic version, so we created 3D samples for the actual bartenders to use in the finals, because the whole point of creating a glass and serving your drink in is to have the design to actually work with it. So, so talking about glassware, well, this is also a short what they win. So they win the fame. They win the fame of having a glass, because which bartender wouldn't like to have his own glass being used in the whole world. They win free glassware. They become the next judge for the next jury, and they get to go to Tales of the Cocktail. And one of the pleasures I had as a brand ambassador is to go with them. So I've been to New Orleans twice. To the biggest cocktail event, and it's amazing. It's hard work. It's long hours, lots of drinking. And in a temperature in New Orleans that's so sky high it's crazy. So a lot of water between the cocktails. But talking about design and the history of Libby as a brand, and I think this is also pretty much the next step. Is also asking the market in themselves, what are you looking for? It's collaborating with them. And I think this will give us better ideas in the future. It will get us better connected. And I hope that Libby will, over the next 200 years, will be just as innovative as we have done in the last few years. And I would like to thank you very much for coming. And I would also like to invite you to come over to the punch party later. And another great applause for Robert Zollweg for also getting me over here and giving me this presentation. Thank you.